The Waterloo Pioneer Memorial Tower pays tribute to the Pennsylvania German Mennonites that settled on this land between 1800 and 1803. So this land is pretty exciting to me after reading about it last year, and let me tell you why. It's the Beasley Tract. Through the Haldman Proclamation of 1784, the Six Nations were given use of the land 6 miles deep on either side of the Grand River, from Lake Erie to the head of the river, for them to enjoy forever. Richard Beasley, one of the founders of Ancaster, in 1798 bought land in Block 2 of this land from the Six Nations. Beasley quickly found himself in debt and was unable to pay the mortgage. In 1800, he sold the land to Samuel D. Betzner and his brother-in-law Joseph Schroeg, who were of the Pennsylvania German Mennonites that had recently came to the Niagara area after the American Revolution. Quick backstory. The Mennonites fled Europe to avoid religious persecution, and then some time later fled Pennsylvania due to siding with the British during the American Revolution in exchange for exemption of military service. Beasley, while taking the money from the Mennonites, who I believe included Joseph Schroeg at the time, failed to inform them of the mortgage to the Six Nations. They later then had to pay the Six Nations as well. They were the first people to establish homes in the area, which in 1850 became Waterloo County. However, I must add that at the time, the Beasley Tract of the Grand River was thought to be poor land. While it turned out to be excellent farmland, its proximity to the Grand, and the floodplains that provided nutrients for the crops, there was a huge obstacle to getting to and from this land, the Beverly Swamp. Also, they were 30 miles away from civilization or commerce.
So this is Schroeg's and Betzner's barn.
Developers originally tore down the barn hastily before the city could stop them. The city has been working to rebuild the barn as well as protect the heritage.
Here's what the barn looked like in 2004. One of the barns now habited.
It's hard to believe that is the old farmhouse that has stood for 2 centuries, but it is no longer owned by the Betzners.
A silo. And what the Schroeg farmstead. Building in yard here. And over there
is the old Schroeg farmstead that is now cited for demolition since it's no longer viable. And here are the original graves of the families.